Welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. It's been an interesting week or so in the WNBA. I mean, drama, and did I say drama? And no, I am not talking about the WNBA finals, although Vegas, after tonight, Wednesday night, one game away from being champions again. Will the Aces sweep the Phoenix Mercury? Will the Mercury manage to win one game? I mean, right now, Phoenix must win all the remaining games, 4 games. And although, you hear me say it's not over, it's over for them. I mean, like for real. Anyway, so no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the situation where Napheesa Collier used her exit interview to issue a statement concerning the commissioner, concerning the WNBA leadership. And since then, it has been popping. It's been on. People have weighed in on social media. Of course, we can expect that, right? But we've had players weigh in. We've had some coaches weigh in. We've got rah, Napheesa, all the stuff. You've got people like myself who talked about it and said, I'm not 100% sure, now that I've had a few days to think about it, what Napheesa Collier is saying in terms of the officiating and the physicality, because these players have embraced the whole physicality. So everybody's going rah Napheesa. Meanwhile, they are constantly talking about how physical they are. But in any case, she voiced some things that a lot of us have observed and other people have felt the same way about. Cathy Engelbert on Friday, game 1 of the finals, she denied that she said anything about Caitlin Clark not being able to make money if it weren't for the WNBA. She didn't quite deny the part about the players should be down on their knees, thanking her for the media rights deal. She just said there's a lot of inaccuracy. I've done several videos on that. Okay, but just the other day, Napheesa Collier declined to meet with Cathy Engelbert because she didn't appreciate what Cathy Engelbert said. I guess because Cathy didn't say, yes, I said that about Caitlin Clark. Whatever it was that ticked Napheesa off, she decided that she wasn't going to meet with Cathy. We find out, however, that she did meet with former Vice President Kamala Harris. So we're going to look at that clip that I have. I don't have the whole conversation, but there's a clip out there on social media. Chances are you've seen it already. I'm going to share that clip, and then I'm going to give you my perspective concerning that conversation. We're going to go to X, over to an account called Maxwell Millington. Take a look at my pointer here. Going around in a circle, you see Napheesa Collier here. You see former Vice President Harris here. And then you see, I guess this is the name of this particular event, Unreasonable Conversation, which I think is appropriately named. Let's watch.
I never had planned to do that before. I am on the union for our CBA negotiations, like our collective bargaining negotiations for our league. And so for so long, I felt like I saw what was going on behind closed doors. For so long, we tried to have these conversations and move the needle in those meetings that we would have with the league, within our leadership. And I saw nothing was changing. Coaches, winning and losing alike, were complaining about the same things over and over again, players over and over again, and we weren't seeing a change that our leadership was trying to make. And I think I just got to the point where I was fed up. Yeah. And, you talked about this with me backstage, and it just resonated so much. It's just like, whether I was going to get, annihilated for this or people were going to support me, I felt what I was doing was right. I felt like it needed to be said. So no matter the consequences, I felt like it was something that needed to be done.
I'll start with what I had said before showing you the clip about unreasonable conversation. I think this conversation with Kamala Harris is unreasonable. Now, some of you are going to disagree with me about that for a number of reasons. One, maybe you like Napheesa Collier. 2, maybe you like former Vice President Harris. 3, you don't like Cathy Engelbert. and I think this is a big one for a lot of people, you felt some kind of way that Napheesa Collier mentioned Caitlin Clark and what she said supposedly about Caitlin Clark and how Cathy Engelbert and her WNBA has created a platform for Caitlin Clark. Or maybe you are a huge fan of other players and you're thinking, how dare she allegedly say that they should be thanking, down on their knees and being thankful. You could have a plethora of reasons, right? But I think there are people who have had complaints about Cathy Engelbert. And so you feel like it's okay for Napheesa to go to someone who is really a politician and tell your feelings about Cathy Engelbert and why you said what you said. Now, that's the only clip I have had access to. I don't know how long they talked about it. This might be the only little snippet that they talked about it at all, but this snippet is a snippet too long. Napheesa said that she was fed up and that she felt it necessary to issue the statement concerning the commissioner. And I said in my original video after she made her first statement that I imagined it wasn't an easy thing for her to do. When I say that, I mean, you don't generally put the boss on blast. Now, some people think she was going to say it anyway. It's just that the situation, them getting out of the playoffs and her getting injured, just lended itself to, okay, now is the time. Although people would perhaps argue that it wasn't the right time because you had two teams in the playoffs. And so now in the finals, and now people are talking about Napheesa Collier, who could be in Cancun, but is hanging around, canceling meetings with the commissioner and meeting with the politician. Whatever the case may be, she felt like she needed to say what she had to say. And so she said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the commissioner on blast. Maybe she needed to say it. Whatever you think about that. That's one thing. That one time, that one statement. Now you're on the road, you're meeting with a politician, and somebody's I can hear somebody now. She's not a politician anymore. She's meeting with a politician. And she's talking about a statement she made about the commissioner in a situation where there are ongoing negotiations, where people are supposed to be coming together, negotiating in good faith, where you are supposedly trying not to create more of a divide, but somehow coming together, if only for the purpose of doing what is best for the league. I don't believe Napheesa Collier has any business talking more about what is going on in terms of her friction or her being upset with Cathy Engelbert. Even if she happened to have been asked the question, there are ways to handle that. People do it all the time. So if the former VP asked her, well, what made you say that? All you have to do as a professional, instead of rehashing this thing and not, this is not good faith negotiations right here. It's not professional. And some of you, like I said, are going to disagree with me. I challenge your disagreement. I challenge you to say, especially if you're not an Angel Wilson fan, if you're not an Angel Reese fan, if you're not a whoever fill in the blank fan, I challenge you to put that name in there, in that seat. And tell me if your opinion would be the same. If it were Angel Reese, for example, and you don't happen to like Angel Reese, and she's up there talking to a politician about things that you are trying to work out in something that you said, I'm willing to, if I were a betting woman, bet that you would not think it's cool. But a lot of people like Napheesa Collier. A lot of people don't like Cathy Engelbert, and they sure don't like what she supposedly said about Caitlin Clark, which of course is why she said it, for the shock factor of it. But she knew that was going to get a certain response. So when she says, I decided, just now we heard her, I decided that although I might be annihilated for it, I felt that it was the right thing to say. I say, although it might have been difficult to open her mouth and read that statement, she knew she wasn't going to get annihilated for it. Who's going to annihilate her? These people want more money. These people are not particularly keen on Cathy Engelbert. The media, when I say the media, I mean people like Shanae Agumake and the ESPN ladies. They're going to have her back. There's no huge risk in her saying what she said, other than getting a fine for like $100 or something like that, right? So it wasn't even like, oh, I just, this is such a huge risk. I think it was difficult in the sense that it's always difficult to blast your boss, but not because you think that you're going to be annihilated out there. It's, to me, it reminds me of these people who go on the, Hollywood people who go on these award shows and decide to turn them into political platforms where they just blast everybody who thinks, everybody. For example, they're usually people on the left who just use that time to blast people on the right. And it's a whole echo chamber, and they act like it took a whole lot of courage. It didn't take any courage, because 99.999% of the people in Hollywood right there in that room are going to agree with what you have to say. So you don't feel like you're getting annihilated, right? Right. So I don't think that was that. But if she had felt that she needed to say what she said, then you say it there. And then after that, if you go to speak to a politician about stuff that's being talked about in terms of trying to get somewhere in negotiations, and what you did because you felt it was the right thing to do, you simply decline to answer. It's not rude. It's not disrespectful. In fact, it's appropriate. So all you have to do in a situation like that, when you're asked a question like that, is say, you're right. I did make a statement the other day, so I'm going to let my statement stand on its own. But when we get this whole thing out of the way, come to a resolution, which we're hoping to do, I'd love to sit down with you again and we can talk some more about it. That's all. That's all. Like, you don't want to get into the weeds with all that. Right? You don't want to, I said what I had to say, and even if I got annihilated, then I don't have to do what's right. I mean, you don't even want to say, you don't even want to have to say all that I just said. But if you're going to be asked about it, just simply say my statement stands as it is, and at this time I'm just going to leave it at that. People do it for legal reasons all the time. I'm not saying this is one of those, but people do it all the time. Well, this is still a case in court, and I'm not going to comment on that. And you're not rude. But to me, it's too much for Napheesa Collier to sit there with a politician talking about this at all, even if the conversation was short. I have no idea how short the conversation was, because that's the only thing I saw. You mentioned that you're in these negotiations, you're part of the union, and everybody cheers. And I don't know, hopefully there was one person thinking, should you be doing the negotiations when you own another league? But anyway, you say that, and everybody applauds, and then you talk about, I don't care if I get annihilated. I think this is the right thing to do. And of course, making yourself, casting yourself in a good light, which obviously ultimately makes the commissioner the bad guy. And I'm not saying she's not the bad guy in any of this. I'm just saying you don't need to be talking about it anymore. You're trying to get somewhere. And this is where some people have a problem with that idea of the conflict of interest, because I don't think conversations like that, when there's obviously friction in relationships, as even Adam Silver pointed out, this is it hinders. Like, you want to come together, even if you don't like truly respect one another personally, in a professional setting where you're trying to come to agreement. We're assuming that Napheesa Collier wants to come to an agreement, wants for this stuff to work out. Got no reason to think that she doesn't, except she owns another league, and that could play a factor. I call it a conflict of interest. So these kinds of things, when you could be meeting with the commissioner for whatever reason, and there you are talking to a politician and making your case seem like the strong case, it's just too much. It is too much. The less you say to outside voices, the better. So all this stuff is going on when you're all supposed to just be negotiating and trying to get past this whole thing. And now you out there talking to the politician and all that. It's too much. And I think it's hurtful I also think it's unprofessional. And like I said, there are some people who are going to disagree. Once again, I challenge you to put somebody else in that seat and tell me you don't feel the same way. Not making Napheesa Collier out to be a bad person. I'm questioning her judgment in being there and taking any questions about this situation and saying yes, even as much or as little as she just said. Just say what I said stands on its own. We can talk about it at another time. Looking forward to this thing being resolved. Like, I felt like I was right. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling because I just think it's too much. This drama, such a soap opera, with all the eyeballs watching, more than ever before. And I'm going to talk about that in a separate video because I got to say it. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.